Is there a correlation between COVID-19 and our brain? Like, does COVID affect our brains? I saw this story. Whether you have contracted COVID-19 or not, your brain is likely to have changed over the last few months. The virus itself can cause a number of neurological problems along with anxiety and depression. To learn more about this, we went to Leigh Richardson. She's the founder of the Brain Performance Center in Dallas. The book is Turn Your Brain On to Get Your Game On, The How, What, Why to Peak Performance. Lee's on the CenterPoint Energy Home Service Plus hotline. Hi, Leigh.
Hi there. How are you?
Well, it's good to catch up with you. Thank you for taking time here. So I'll just start just as plain as can be for you. Does COVID-19 affect our brain?
Absolutely. COVID-19, there's 4 things that put your brain in a dysregulated state. Genetics, physical trauma, emotional trauma, and stress. And COVID-19 reeks of emotional trauma and stress. You know, anytime your body gets really stressed out, it starts kicking out. Those adrenal glands start kicking out all that cortisol. And that cortisol can get into the gray matter, the white matter in the brain. It can affect how you process information. It can affect your decision making. So absolutely, COVID-19 impacts the way our brain works.
What about, okay, so you've even laid out where COVID-19 affects our brain, even if we don't get it, because, you know, basically the world that we're living in now is so up in the air and it causes stress. But what about if you get COVID-19 too? Obviously, some of those same factors would apply there too.
Absolutely, and I think if you get it, then you've got that more fear. So that cortisol, that's what puts your body into that fight or flight state. And if you've got COVID-19, you're worried if you're going to make it through. Are you going to wake up the next day? Because it's so unknown. And it's interesting to see those studies that look at how the brain reacts to stress that's controllable and stress that's uncontrollable. And this is uncontrollable stress. And the brain has a really hard time handling that.
That's interesting. I didn't realize there would be differences between. So what would be a controllable stress? And obviously an uncontrollable stress would be something, job loss or COVID-19. But what would be a controllable stress?
Well, a controllable stress would be like, okay, you've got a fitness routine you're going to do, you know, and you're going to go to the gym 3 times a week, and you don't go. Well, that really stresses you out. But who's in control of that? You are.
Gotcha. Yep. We're talking with Leigh Richardson here, the founder of the Brain Performance Center in Dallas. She got a book, Turn Your Brain On to Get Your Game On. What about, are there long-term effects here? You know, as we talk about stress and anxiety and causing these, you know, COVID-19 affecting the brain, would there be long-term effects, and what could it potentially tie into?
Well, anytime you change the way the brain's wiring and firing, or you change the way it shares information, or you change the timing, and those are all things that can be changed by emotional trauma and stress. It affects things like memory. I know a lot of people have had their sleep impacted, and when you think about what is your foundation, it's your sleep. When the only time that your brain can restore and rejuvenate is when you're asleep. When you fall asleep, you have these little glial cells. They're like those little scrubbing bubbles you see on TV. You know, they come out and they just clean everything up for you. So if you get your sleep, if you can't sleep, that means you can't eat. If you're not getting the nutrition that you need. I mean, the brain only weighs 3 pounds, but it requires a lot of energy.
Yeah. What about alcohol, Leigh?
Well, we've seen the sales go up in the last few months, and I think we all try to self-soothe. I think that's where addiction starts. Addiction is a brain disease. I don't think there's anybody out there that wants to be an addict, but we all try to self-soothe, and we try to self-medicate. And I think that alcohol it's easy to get. We don't go out a lot. I certainly haven't been going out over the last few months like I used to. Not that I ever was a big bar person, But I'm one to go buy a bottle of wine and go home and have a glass of wine. Now, for some of us, we can have that glass of wine and put that cork in the bottle. And for others that can't, it can create huge problems.
Yeah. Yeah. Leigh, I know a lot of people, and I've been in on the sleep train for a long time, just the importance of sleep and getting our sleep and knowing that those 7 to 8 hours, they matter. As you wake up refreshed, you feel good. If we talk about what we can do to stay mentally fit, does it start with sleep for you? And we've seen the benefits, I think now more than ever, we've seen the benefits of sleep, which you had mentioned.
Absolutely. I mean, sleep is your foundation. And it starts with sleep. Then your next step is nutrition, how you feed the brain. And then I'm constantly asked, what diet should I be on? And my answer is an unprocessed food diet. If it comes in a bag, a box, or a can, it's frozen, it's going to be good for 2 years, don't eat it. It's got a lot of chemicals in it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, those are just your foundational issues.
Yeah.
And exercise.
Portion size, too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, portion size and exercise. Leigh Richardson, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And that book again, Turn Your Brain On to Get Your Game On.